It is since the year 2013 when war broke out in South Sudan, and the church leaders came in and sat down to talk to the leadership of the country to say that they should stop this senseless war. In the process of that discussion, the war continued through, and it was in 2015 when the church leaders met in Kigali, Rwanda, and came out with a statement of intent. This document is the springboard for the program plan of the action plan for peace. It was from that time that we put the statement of intent into program, and we came out with this framework, for working for peace in South Sudan. South Sudan needs peace. South Sudan is yearning for peace. South Sudan has gone through a lot of ups and downs. So the church leaders laid out this strategy as a strategy, a homegrown strategy, in order to reach out, in order to sort out the issues in South Sudan. One of the first points of the pillar in the action plan for peace is the advocacy. The advocacy is to change the narrative from that of violence, that of killing, that of abuse, to that of peace.
There are three strategies that the Council is using to advocate for sustainable peace within the country. And one of them is advocating at the national level, and advocating at the regional level, and also advocating at the international level. Majorly on the national level is engaging communities, especially conflicting communities, to have dialogue or bring them, engage them in consultative meeting. And one key example of that is the recently one that the Council just concluded of the Greater Jonglei states. The Council brought them together to come and have an honest conversation what is really going on in Greater Jonglei, among the Murle communities, among the Dinka communities, and among the Nuer communities. With that, it will make the Council understand what are the grievances of the communities in the ground. And with that, will best inform the strategy on how the church can engage now further to bring in the community to resolve the conflicts in the country. Another one is that the church, under the advocacy, the church issues different kinds of statements. We have the sensational statements, and also by quarterly statements or reports. And majorly with statements, the church issues statements, especially about events that happen in the country. Different events. We have different events that happen in the country. One of them, like the International Peace Day, or the Day of Human Rights, or the Youth Day. What does the church feel about peace within the country? It uses such platform to speak more in an authoritative way, in the perspective of the church, of course.
The second pillar is that of the neutral forum, to create a free space so that they can discuss their issues, they can discuss the root causes of their pains, they can discuss what disturbs them, what makes them not to live together. That one is always met through community conversation, people-to-people dialogue when you create a space.
You know, conflicts are always there in every community, and it's not that South Sudanese don't know how to resolve problems. South Sudanese initially have their own mechanisms of how they can resolve their own problems, and it is only within the context of today that the church has to now come in to fill in where these gaps are. And it's when the church creates that environment, meaning it is South Sudanese themselves resolving their own conflict, sitting together as brothers and sisters, coming up with all the issues together and then agreeing on the way forward. So that is where why we talk of homegrown process. So when we talk of mediation, which is church-led process, because the church command a wider perspective or constituencies of South Sudanese, being an institution that is well respected and has been trusted, is that create an environment which is safe for every person to have trust and say with all heart what exactly pains him or her and what is the grievances. So that is why if the church comes in, that is the environment where people now will say, now we can talk. So basically this is what we meant by this homegrown. And under this strategy of action plan for peace, and which mediation, let me say neutral forum is a pillar, is basically having almost three major objectives. One is providing safe and free space for South Sudanese to talk and dialogue. That is the first major objective. The second objective is to do with, it acts as a bridge between the conflicting parties to mend up the broken relationship so that the South Sudanese can talk, like building trust among these political leaders or community leaders or even societies in order for them to come together and discuss what actually pains them and why this conflict is all about. The third is to do with South Sudanese coming with their own resolutions into the conflict itself. So these are the major three objectives.
And the third pillar is that of reconciliation. In order to reconcile, it's not easy. When I've gone through all this bitterness, all this pain, it's not easy that I reconcile with my brother or my sister. I need to go through a process, a journey of healing the trauma of the violence that I've gone through, the trauma of the rape that I've gone through, the trauma of the abuse that I've gone through. Once my trauma is healed, then I can have that openness to have the sense of forgiving and to have that power in me to forgive. And once I've obtained that power to forgive, then I can reconcile.
Reconciliation is one of the 4 pillars of action plan for peace that originates from a root word conciliation, which means the act of stopping someone from anger. By definition, reconciliation is defined as the restoration of the broken relationships that makes the 2 conflicting parties compatible to each other. During this pandemic of 2020, the COVID-19, it has not been a problem for the action plan for peace, especially conduct activities of reconciliation. However, we have registered a lot of achievements. First of all, the annual North and South reconciliation processes. We have also conducted the Greater Bahar Ghazal Interchurch Committees Regional Conference that aims at conducting community dialogues that will ultimately lead to reconciliation. We also conducted the Interchurch Committees for Greater Equatoria Regional Forum that had also a training for the Interchurch Committee members to go and dialogue and conduct context analysis for the root causes of the conflict within Greater Equatoria, within Greater Bahar Ghazal. And this one we have registered it as a success because they are going with full determination to help our people to reduce on tension, to reduce on conflict, and ultimately lead to reconciliation. Reconciliation also has officially launched a trauma healing manual that will be used by the heads of churches, church leaders and partners in order to fight trauma within South Sudan.
South Sudan Council of Churches, in some meeting 2018, to be precise, I think it was in July when we convened in Nairobi and discussed among many other things in which trauma healing came out. And we say this is a very important area that we will need to incorporate in our work as the South Sudan Council of Churches. So if you can rally most of us, the churches and the leaders and the Christian faithfuls in our churches, to begin to accept, to walk this journey and help our people, it will be sad. So we incorporated that, and we said the number one thing we need to do is to listen to others, and we need to also be able to come with our own manual. This manual was dictated by the need to have trauma healing incorporated. So I want to say thank you to our partners who have given these resources for this to be done. And mine is now to say, may the Lord God help us, even as we have these books launched and this program launched, and as we step out to do the needful in this great mission field called trauma in this our country. God bless you.
I would like to start by thanking the Council of Churches for committing themselves to truth reconciliation and healing, and for developing this trauma healing manual. Trauma is a wound, is an injury, physical, mental, and emotional, and it hurts, and it should be treated, healed. And there is a lot of trauma in this country, but trauma is everywhere, also in my country, Norway, to some people. The conflict in South Sudan is the source of deep suffering. It hurts individuals and it hurts the entire people of South Sudan. Mistrust and suspicion has taken root between communities. Such grievances challenge the social fabric of society.
With us having this manual for the trauma healing, we shall extend this knowledge not only to our youth at home, but also to the youth of our communities. Because the youth of South Sudan are the ones that can only change the violent nature of South Sudan. And going through trauma is something very disturbing. And if our youth are not empowered, if our youth are not changed from the mindset of trauma, then this country will be heading into continuous conflict.
I have heard everyone in this country, from His Excellency the President right the way through society, talking about the impact of trauma. As my colleague Ambassador Siv says, there are ways in which a society can deal with trauma, including on justice and accountability. But we have to also remember the individuals. And I am pleased that my government is able to associate itself and support, alongside our Norwegian friends, this very important work. I wish you all well in this endeavour. The Lord be with you.
In the presence of COVID-19, we need to work, we need to advocate for peace, because people of South Sudan need peace. Although there are some South Sudanese who don't believe that there is COVID-19, but only they feel the impact of the presence of COVID-19 when they see churches and mosques being closed, when they see people moving with face masks, when they see people are asked to wash their hands throughout, wherever you go.
Corona ilajo asmakala. Anda kan kita pe kawanin al-wazarasa al-alamia. Bikalim lena den dia ilajo corona.
Basically, this is about youth response to COVID-19. All of us, we know what COVID-19 is right now, and it's not a new thing. This is a global pandemic that has hit the world so hard. And today in South Sudan, the youth under South Sudan Council of Churches have taken a step forward that we are going to create awareness into our communities.
South Sudan Council of Churches, right from the onset of COVID-19 in South Sudan, came up with an initiative to form South Sudan Council of Churches Task Force for COVID-19. This SSCC Task Force for COVID-19 was formed on 27th of April 2020. They were formed as a way to come up with a strategic intervention on how to respond to COVID-19 and also play a part in making sure that the spread of COVID-19 in South Sudan is extensively interrupted by all the parties, all the stakeholders in the country. Through the Task Force for COVID-19 of South Sudan Council of Churches, they came up with intervention strategies. These intervention strategies includes community awareness, creating robust community awareness that will enable the communities through the member churches, the faithful women, the faithful youth, to participate actively in curbing the spread of COVID-19.
However, in spite of all this, we need to work within it to enhance peace to the people of South Sudan. The government, our brothers in the government, our sisters in the government need to take on their commitment, the commitment of implementing the peace. Last year in April, the 10th of April, during the retreat in Rome of the political leadership of the country, after the Pope had kissed their legs, the feet of this leadership, They made their commitment that they will never take South Sudan back to war. They will never do anything against the line and the journey of peace. They have made a commitment, and of course we keep on reminding them, you made the commitment, people of South Sudan needs peace. People of South Sudan needs to live in peace. They need to travel to their villages. They need to cultivate. They need to do whatever they want to do. You as leaders, give this opportunity of peace by implementing the revitalized agreement.
Looking at the youth, they are the spearheads of their communities. So the South Sudan Council took this initiative to create innovative activities that can foster the development of the youth, rather than them being idle and being used as instruments of violence within their communities.
The action plan for peace emphasizes on the Christian approach to reconciliation that is conducted within the framework of spirituality, prayers, and biblically in the context. Then we have the following steps to reconciliation. Acknowledgement of the sin. That means the offense done to the other party. Then after acknowledging, we call the two conflicting parties to a dialogue whereby they will agree, one side has to agree to forgive one another, and when the other side agrees to forgive one another, then they agree on which modality of reconciliation is to take place. So with this, the Bible teaches us as Christians that we must make it a priority to reconcile with one another.
During the implementation of the Action Plan of Peace in 2015, the women had this Women Link group, which was formed in 2013, right away after the crisis that took place in South Sudan. Now, we say women are peacemakers naturally, and so the women desk saw it as important for them to form a group that will bring the women from all different walks of life to come together to pray for this country, to see that we have a lasting peace in this country. We have women going out every month, fasting and prayers, moving along the road, crying on their knees, talking to the government, talking to the civilians on how they have been seeing the women have been suffering.
Action Plan for Peace is a process, it's ongoing. We need to keep pace until peace is achieved. Not only peace, but that's sustainable and permanent peace for the people of South Sudan.